Hello everyone, this is your Krishna from Women Today YouTube channel. So in this channel, we have been interviewing many women entrepreneurs and working women across different cities in India. We are just going to different cities and we are doing offline interviews, and we are also doing online interviews across different cities in India and also across different countries in the world. So today's our guest is from Bangalore. Her name is Mandeep Kaur. She is a very famous psychotherapist, and she's been doing this service for many years, and she has been excelling in many sectors right now. I have a list for her, and she is an RCI licensed, formerly clinical psychologist at AIMS New Delhi, and an alumna at CP Ranchi. So this is what follows, and I welcome you, Mandeep Kaur ma'am, to this Women Today YouTube channel. So please kindly introduce about yourself, about the kind of professional work that you're doing to the audience who are watching this interview right now, ma'am.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your channel. That means a lot to me. So my name is Mandeep Kaur Bhalla. Like you mentioned, I have done my training from CIP Ranchi. It's Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi, and thereafter I worked at different organizations, different private and government setups. And the last organization that I worked at was AIMS, and I was working there in a national tele helpline for border security forces personnel. And working at AIMS, working at CIP, getting training at CIP and at AIMS, it was a magical experience for me. And the kind of work I got to learn there, the kind of experience that I got there was very enriching and fulfilling. The diverse populations that I see there, in OPD setups, in IPD setups, that was very full of learning. And coming back to me about my work and my profession, why I got into it. It was never decided initially that I want to be a psychologist or I want to be a psychotherapist. But gradually, when I started, my schooling, I ended my schooling, then I started my graduation. So I started, having this interest, just curiosity that I want to understand about human behavior. So that curiosity led me on further. Okay, let's see what else can I do to understand it better. So let's go for graduation, then let's go for PG for it. Let's understand it better, let's get to know it better. And then I went for my masters, then I went for my internship, then I went for my MPhil in clinical psychology. So the journey kept going on and on, just in the curiosity of learning and understanding the human behavior better. And it's been, I think, over 10 years since graduation that I have been doing this every single day. And after I finished my MPhil, it's been 4+ years since I've been in this field working as an individual practitioner. And it's been an overall a very great journey.
So it all started
Yeah.
from the curiosity that you wanted to know what's the idea, what are the thoughts, what are the things revolving in the human minds. I do understand that.
Yeah.
That was the
Yes.
exact first question which I was going to ask, like what actually sparked the interest in you to become a psychotherapist, because there are a lot of departments in medicine. So especially like I do, even a normal humans always wanted to know what's running in our friend's mind, what's running in our parents' mind. So if we are able to determine that, then everything falls into place. Like we want to just go into judgments, so we can just decide it the right way. I do accept. It's a great honor for me to have you in our YouTube channel, because a psychotherapist like you being interviewed, like most of the people can get their answers for the many unresolved questions which is running in their mind, which I'm going to ask you in this interview, man. So I do understand the first thing is the curiosity which landed you in the psychotherapist profession. The thing is that, consider I'm a client coming to you and I'm just going to have a therapy from you, ma'am. So tell us from the beginning to the end, what are the process can I expect from you when I'm coming to as a client, and when I'm just going to have a conversation with you, being a psychotherapist of any kind of things, like you can evaluate my physical or mental stress or any kind of traumas. But the thing is that, what is the most common kind of procedure which you would like to explain to us, which you do to each and every client, irrespective of the kind of trauma they are facing in their life? From the beginning to the end, what can we expect from you in this therapy, ma'am?
Okay. So first of all, whenever anyone approaches Peace Pod is the name of my venture that I'm running. So whenever you contact us, whenever you come for therapy, the very first process, the very initial thing that we do is we first try to understand your concerns. We take a complete history if possible about your life's concerns that are going on right now. After taking that entire history, we cannot directly jump to the therapeutic approaches, we cannot directly jump to the technicalities. The first few sessions of therapy are usually focused on building that trust, building that understanding and rapport between the client and the therapist. And gradually, once that trust and rapport is being building up and it's becoming strong, that automatically opens up a space for the client to talk more about himself or herself, because the trust has now been built up, and the space, that comfort zone now is opening up so that you can talk about your concerns. And once you start talking about your concern, we try to assess you if there are any underlying clinical symptoms, if there are any underlying other personality features or patterns that need to be assessed properly. Because sometimes what happens is, we let's say I am a client, for example, and I go to some therapist. There is a possibility that I am on the surface level I'm manifesting a lot of symptoms, but deep underlying reasons are different. Sometimes our personality patterns are contributing to our symptoms. Sometimes there are deep core stressful factors that are contributing to our symptoms. So, to assess all that, we go for assessments. We go for psychodynamic assessments, psychological assessments. Post that, we get to understand after the evaluation, okay, these are the things that could be contributing to what's going on right now. And based on that, according to that, I formulate the management plan accordingly. And even though, let's say, there are two people with similar symptoms, there is a possibility that both of them will be having different management plan, because similar symptoms can be there, but person to person therapy approaches vary, right? How the symptoms manifest itself, it varies a lot.
Yeah, I do
And
understand.
gradually, yes, gradually when the therapy continues, and with with time, sometimes there are very difficult therapy sessions. Sometimes even the client comes up with a very difficult week, after a very difficult week. And sometimes the therapy session is all about holding that silence, just being there, because the grief of the week is too loud that you just want to be there and hold that silence with the client. And a part of being a therapist is also making the client comfortable by how to be comfortable in sitting in silence. Sometimes people are not comfortable how to sit in silence. There is this indirect need or urge to often say something whenever there is a silence. Even in conversations, you must have observed in the environment that whenever there is a silence in a conversation, people start to feel like, okay, I should say something, I should fill in the silence. Why are people going silent? Let's say something. So that ability to stay comfortable in silence, that is also practiced during the therapy sessions. So it's an overall a very, I would say, a humble, very overwhelming experience and magical experience at the end when you get to experience that healing.
Yeah, I do understand, ma'am. Because
Yeah.
as you told in the beginning, that the right thing which you do as a psychotherapist, not only being a psychotherapist, but being a human being. Suppose if I wanted to go and talk to a person who is truly newly different to me, who is not known to me for many years, I have just met him or her for the very first time. What we should do is having a proper rapport with them, building a communication with them, trying to understand them, trying to get the ideas what is running in their mind. So with the help of this, we can just assess, okay, they're just going through these kind of patterns in their life. With the help of the kind of physical look, we can't assess anything what's actually running inside. So only when
Yeah.
they talk out from the heart, then we will be able to assess. So that's the very first step that you are doing. And
Hmm.
in between that, you are saying that of course each and every human being is going through a lot of works, and once the
Yes.
week just finishes off, they will be going through a lot of grief, they will be having a lot of trauma, stress, and once they come to
Hmm.
you, they must have some kind of stoppage, like what to say, it's similar to an aircraft which is going to land. It can't land at a second, it should take a very long runway, it should decrease the speed. Once it gets to the runway, it should align with the runway, then it
Hmm.
should slow its path, slow by, it will be like running like 300 kilometers per hour, 200 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 50, 20, then only it will be going to the bay of the airport. So in the same way,
Hmm.
once the client comes to you, let him cool, let her cool. then they'll be pouring the heart out. That's the great kind of approach that you do have with every client. I do appreciate, ma'am. So also tell us, ma'am, there will be a lot of clients in every age category that will coming to you. Consider it maybe old age persons, middle aged persons, even adults and kids. They'll be coming to you and they'll be having a lot of sessions with you. So what is the most common kind of issues that each and every individual is facing? Like it may be it may be any trauma which you wanted to disclose. Like you can actually disclose what you would like to do. It's not about asking you whatever you wanted to say. You can just say the common issues and also tell us, how do you stay yourself upgraded in this society being a psychotherapist? Because there are a lot of issues happening nationally, domestically, and internationally. How do you deal with each and every client and how do you actually stay upgraded, ma'am? So let us know about all these kind of questions.
Okay, so your first question is the kind of age population that come to me. Yes, it's a diverse population, and mostly the clients that come to me are from adults to middle-aged adults, and sometimes geriatric population as well. And the most common concern that I have observed is that people have gone through a lot of difficult experiences when they were not aware of it. That is the most common concern that I have seen. So let's say, for example, we can take an example of any childhood experience. There are many different concerns, but let's take one example. Let's say in childhood you got to experience difficult parenting, difficult environment, the schooling was difficult, your college years were difficult. But in those moments, you didn't realize that this is something difficult. For you, it became a normal pattern because it kept on going similarly. So for you, difficult became the normal, right? So what happens is when you become an adult and you get to start to living your own life separately, individually, when you are away from that difficult environment and you start your own life, then you realize, okay, that was something not normal, that was difficult, and those difficult experiences shaped me the way I am right now. And sometimes those difficult experiences, the way they shape you, those responses, they show up in your everyday life. For example, let's say if you're feeling anxious in sudden moments, if you're feeling anxious in society, if you're feeling anxious in social gatherings, you're feeling anxious, but you don't know why you're feeling anxious, and there is a deep whole story behind it. So let's say when someone comes to therapy, after exploration, a whole level of other response pattern comes into the picture. Okay, these were the things that made you an anxious personality. And so just like childhood examples, there are many different experiences that shape us the way who we are. And the most common concern, I would say, since my approach inclination is also towards trauma informed care, and I mostly see patients who have had some kind of trauma experiences in their life, psychological trauma. Mostly the trauma cases show up as like they come up with a complaint of I'm having depressive symptoms. And once we start to deal with the symptomatic treatment, the symptoms go away gradually, but then deep down we get to understand what were the stressors or what were the stressful responses that led to the manifestation of that depression. So every symptom, every clinical symptom has a different level of story and different level of experiences beneath that person. So it's like the more you dig deep down, the more layers you will keep on exploring. It's like an onion. You peel one layer and you get to see another layer. So therapy is all about exploring different layers about yourself. And sometimes the layers can be very overwhelming. Sometimes the sessions can be very overwhelming because you're exploring your own self. So layer by layer, gradually when you try to understand yourself, things start getting better.
Okay, I do understand there are a lot of things which needed to be cleared because, as you said, manifesting is something like which people do it voluntarily. But the thing is that they are manifesting anxiety and stress involuntarily because of the past traumas which they had, because of the stress which they had, because I don't want to say it consciously, but unconsciously, involuntary, the right way to say it. They're just manifesting it. Because the thing is that always the universe understands these kind of frequencies. When you always think
Hmm.
in the positive frequency, it will give you things in the positive way. It's a magic. That's what I would like to say to the people. Yeah, of course, people who do believe in God should believe in universe and all these kind of magics. They just anxiety, stress, depression, they can come. Of course, people go through a lot of things, even in the kids, in the schools, in the colleges, in the office places,
Hmm.
and many things like that. But the thing is that
Hmm.
some of them can be solved by great psychotherapists like you. I do understand it, ma'am. So also tell us, ma'am, if a person is feeling trauma, anxiety for a very long period of time, like what to say, they have been consulting many psychotherapists. They will not be consulting just one single psychotherapist. I can see many people who is just going through a lot of psychotherapists, so that they will be
Hmm.
able to come to a common solution, because each and every
Hmm.
doctors they meet, they will be telling a lot of common solutions, and with the help of that they can just come to an adjustment to themselves. So when they come
Hmm.
to you, so what is the procedure can we expect from you when they're having a
Hmm.
hell lot of trauma, hell lot of anxiety, that they can't
Hmm.
control to do anything? So what can we
Hmm.
expect?
So, first of all, when we talk about trauma, these days trauma word is used very, casually sometimes. Like if somebody's having a bad day, the person will just come back and say, "Today was very traumatic," and I had a very traumatic experience. I had a very traumatic interview. The word trauma and traumatic is being used very casually these days. I have heard. So, what trauma, according to my experience, my understanding, and my knowledge, what I feel trauma is not something that happened to you. It's something that impacted you. It's what how you react to that experience. Like, let's say there was a very, have you heard about PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder? So let's say there is a very difficult experience. Let's say, for example, I witnessed an accident. So the accident that happened was not trauma. How it impacted me and how I reacted towards it, that is what you call trauma, because it impacts you internally, externally, in every aspect, and it impacts your cognition, it impacts your feelings and emotion, it impacts your behavior and your responses for a continuous amount of time, for long years and years of time, until you actually understand that you need to change the way you reacted to it.
Exactly.
And so trauma is a very big term because it impacts you in a really big manner. So and also the anxiety that circles around it, the depressive symptoms that circles around it, they're all part of something, how we react to it. Yes, all these psychiatric illnesses, they are not just because of stressors. Stress is just one factor that can aggravate it. Sometimes the reasons are genetic, sometimes the reasons are neurochemical. There is a neurochemical imbalance and that leads to any kind of diagnosis, a psychiatric diagnosis. But I'm just saying stress can be a very big contributive factor into having all these symptoms.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
understand that. I also use the same sentence. It's not what's happening to you in life. It's how
Hmm.
you react to them in your life. Like 100%
Hmm.
is what's happening in your life, and 90% is how you're reacting to them. So if
Hmm.
people just continue, of course, emotions is the basic of every human being. Without emotions, a human being will be totally transformed into a robot, or they'll be totally transformed into something else. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
frame it in the right way, like react, but don't take it deep into your heart. React, but
Hmm. Hmm.
don't take it deep into your mind. So
Hmm.
I do understand that the reaction time, the reaction depth decides everything. I do understand it, ma'am. So also tell us,
Hmm.
ma'am. So consider, I'll tell you a small example. In this today
Hmm.
modern days, people, what happens in between a couple is that the lack of communication. People consider, it
Hmm.
may be a friend, it may be to your partners, it may be to a marriage couple, or something else. What happens is that in the initial time period, what happens is that one partner will be communicating well with the second partner, and the second partner will
Hmm.
also be in rapport with the first partner. But after a
Hmm.
time period like around 6 months or 1 year, this kind of rapport keeps on
Hmm.
depreciating. And at one point of time,
Hmm.
what happens is that the first partner will actually
Hmm.
communicate, but the second partner will stop to communicate without any. The thing is that the first partner will be like always thinking about what wrong him or her have actually done. The thing is that they will not be doing any kind of wrong things. But the thing is that I think from my side, the second partner has actually lost some kind of interest from the first partner. And the thing is that because the first partner has actually done nothing wrong. So at this point of time, the second partner is not able to open up with the first partner what actually runs in their mind. So at this point of time, if they come to you, like if the first partner is actually coming to you telling that, ma'am, I am going through a lot of stress. I actually didn't commit even a single kind of mistake from my side. But the thing is that I am not communicated well. So at this point of time, what advice would you like to tell? Would you like to tell to advice to the first client, or would you like to ask the second partner to come and visit you, and him or her doesn't have any kind of issues? Only when you open it out, then they will be able to understand what issue that they have done. So from their side, it's totally clear. So what kind of things can we expect from you, ma'am?
So when we talk about two people together, let's say we're talking about a couple. So couple means we are focusing on the couples therapy. We are focusing on the mutual differences or mutual likings, or the things that are impacting mutually to both of them. So if one of them is coming to me, definitely I'll understand the individual aspect of that person. But if I feel that it's mutually related, I'll have to talk to the other person as well to understand his or her perspective. And gradually, after talking to both of them individually, then taking their consent to talk to both of them together, then gradually we can understand what are the patterns that are going wrong. Because sometimes what happens is, while communicating, a lot of the criterias of communication we miss on, like verbally actually expressing what you're feeling, letting the person know this is what I like, this is what I don't like. If something hurt you, if you didn't like something, actually letting your partner know that this is something that I did not like, I did not appreciate, so please don't repeat it again. These kind of conversations, they don't happen usually. So we kind of, people sometimes they assume that okay, now we are very comfortable with each other, we have been married for 10 years, he or she should understand what I'm thinking. Usually this kind of expectation comes that okay, my partner should understand what I'm thinking, my partner should understand what I'm going to say or what I'm going to like. But sometimes that cannot happen, and that may not happen, because even with time, even though your comfort zone increases with each other, your likes and dislikes also changes with time. And it's very important to let your partner know this is something that I like and appreciate, so I would really like it if you also do it with me, but this is something that I don't like, so I would appreciate if you respect that for me. That kind of communication with respect and assertiveness is very very important. Always try to express yourself to your partner, even when you feel you're scared that the partner won't understand. That is just an assumption, because you haven't tried expressing yet. So just having this thought that okay, my partner will not understand me, so there is no point in talking about it, you have to try. How will you know until you try it? And this fact goes for everything in life. How will you get to know if something works or not until you try it? So that goes for communication, that goes for any kind of aspect in life. And for proper communication, you need to talk about it, you need to express what you feel, not just positive emotions, the negative emotions also. If you're happy, you express it to your partner and you celebrate it. But when you're sad and irritable and angry, then also you should express it to your partner. That is also very important, because sometimes we feel scared, okay, I'm angry, let's not talk about it, otherwise things will mess up further. But you are actually controlling that situation by sometimes what happens is we want to maintain peace, so we don't talk about anger. But in the long run, you are actually destroying your own mental peace by suppressing that anger.
Yeah, I do accept that anxiety and stress had to be dealt at the very smaller level, because once we allow it to grow it to a bigger level, it's just cutting like a big giant tree. It's like we can just actually cutting trees is not good. It's not going to do good to the society. In the same way, cutting our stress at the higher level will actually impact our physical and mental health at a very large thing. So anything we should just try to eradicate at the very smaller amount at the very initial period of our stress or trauma or something like that. Also, once again, tell us, ma'am, we would also like to know about your experience that you had when you were just working with AIMS in Delhi, ma'am. So tell us about your experience, ma'am.
Hmm. So my experience in AIMS was very, very, fulfilling, I would say. I was very much satisfied when I joined there. I was very much satisfied while I was working there, and I was not at all happy when I left it. I had to move from Delhi to Bangalore because of some personal reasons. So I had to, resign from that organization. But staying there, working there was a very fruitful experience for me. I had amazing professors over there, amazing colleagues over there. And initially, I joined, just after finishing my MPhil, I joined there as a research fellow for a few months. And after that, the very next experience was, working at private hospitals. Then after a gap of, I would say, 1.5 year, I joined again AIMS, the recent one, where I joined as a clinical psychologist in a national tele helpline, like for border security forces. It was a collaboration between BSF and AIMS. So I was working there as a clinical psychologist in that tele helpline, and the experience in itself was very, fruitful. We learned a lot of new things. We even worked on a module, a CBT based module, just to help the BSF personnel, and we conducted a lot of workshops. We even organized during that time while I was there. Our department organized an international conference, and luckily I was working there during that time, so I got to be a part of that conference also. Overall, I would say when you sit in AIMS OPD, you will see diverse population. You will see every age group, from child to geriatric population. You will see different age groups with different symptoms, with different diagnoses and illnesses. And even though they come there with a lot of hope to get better, you also go there with a lot of hope to learn better. So overall, it was a very good and nice and fulfilling experience.
So also tell us, ma'am, that you are also having an history with Ranchi. So tell us about
Yeah.
that, ma'am.
So Ranchi will always hold a very special place in my heart, because my 2 years during my MPhil, I was there, and I would say I was a completely different person before I joined MPhil, and I was a completely different person after I finished my MPhil. It's like two different versions of Mandeep. I grew a lot. I saw my emotional maturity, growing up during those 2 years, and my resilience kept growing while I was there. I have seen a lot of changes in myself as a person while I was there. And Ranchi CIP is such an institute. If you step in that institute, no matter for how long you go there, you'll always come back with lots and lots of learning and knowledge. Because every single day you get to learn something in that institute. And you won't feel tired, although the schedule, and it's very hectic. We used to work for from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. sometimes on some days. Even though it's very hectic, you won't feel tired. You'll always come back to your room learning something new that day. So I believe a lot of my learning, is dedicated to that institute. If I got to, get my training, I got to learn so many new things. I got to be a better and, newer version of myself. That institute plays a huge role in that. So it was a very, very nice experience. I would say magically different experience.
Of course, each and every decade, every 10 years, people will like to have a new version of themselves. Of course, the universe will make themselves grow into a newer level. So, you being a doctor, being a psychotherapist, you must have gone through a lot of struggles in your studies, because it's not like arts college, it's not like engineering college. Of course, engineering and arts are also difficult, but medicine degree is something like which is vast more. We should have a lot of genuine kind of towards concentration towards our studies. We should be going through a lot of practical exams, I do understand. And of course, it's like the developing of a caterpillar. It has to go through a lot of stages, starting from the larva, starting from being a caterpillar, has to go through a lot of stages, and once it gets to the final stage, then it will be booming like a butterfly. So that's how
Yeah.
great doctors are like you are actually existing in the society. Being a cocoon, they should they'll be going through a lot of struggles in the cocoon stage, but when they go to butterfly stage, that's the beautiful stage. So now you are in a wonderful butterfly stage. So you're just doing
Thank
a
you so
lot of good things to the society being a psychotherapist, and it's evident via this interview because you have told that being a psychotherapist, the first thing you do is kind of assess the people's mind by just going in rapport with them, first having a great communication with them. I do understand it, ma'am. So right now, do you actually provide offline sessions or do you concentrate on online sessions? Do you provide consultations only to Indian clients, or do you also concentrate on Indians in foreign countries or any foreign nationals? So tell us about it, ma'am.
So right now, my consultations, my work is completely online, completely virtual. But in future, yes, we are planning to open an offline setup soon. And the clients are a mix. It's There are Indian clients also, Indian clients staying outside also. It's a mix of all the clients at the moment. There is no specificity. Anybody from any place can come and reach out for help.
Of
So
course.
there is no specificity that only one person or only Indians or only, no, any person from any place of the world can come and reach out for help to us. Mental health should be accessible to all of us.
That's a great kind gesture because instead of having a longer waiting time period, of course, you consider doctors like in UK or US, they should be waiting for a longer waiting period, even for a minor surgery or something like that. But being in India and you're also providing virtual assistance, it's something great because we can just fix an appointment date and we can just come virtual wherever we are. So that's a great kind
Hmm.
of gesture from you, ma'am. And also tell us about your future ventures. Like what's your
Hmm.
aim? What do you plan in the future in the upcoming 5 to 10 years? So tell us about your future aim, future ventures, being a psychotherapist, ma'am.
Hmm. So the next 5-10 years that I see myself is, yes, setting up my own clinic and spreading more and more awareness about mental health. That's my ultimate purpose. Why I'm in this field. Spread as much awareness about mental health as possible, so that people can actually start taking care of themselves before they realize they need to. They should start taking care of themselves anytime they become aware of it. So I want people to feel better, to get better, to become a better version of themselves. And for that, the amount of awareness that I need to spread in the world, in the society, in the environment, I'll keep on doing my work according to that. And yes, I provide webinars, workshops, seminars. So these are the mediums through which I provide that mental health awareness for people. And yeah, I hope to see myself becoming a better version of myself and becoming a better therapist for the clients who approach me.
Of course, you are now itself a great therapist. Suppose people would like to see you in many cities. Do you also visit many? Can we expect any kind of conference from you in the upcoming future, like in any different cities in India? Do you have
Hmm.
to plan to have any conference, ma'am?
So not conference per se, but yes, I am planning to have host webinars and seminars in different places, or general mental health talks in different places. So that can be expected in future. Different mental health talks, seminars, and webinars.
Okay, that's a great thing, ma'am. So one final question for this interview is, if via this interview, if you'd like to pass any kind of message to the people who are watching this interview, what kind of message would you like to tell to the people, ma'am?
So, the if mental health perspective is taken into consideration while everyone is watching this video, I would say that don't wait for anyone to come and tell you that you need help. If you feel you need help, just go for it, because you don't need anyone else to come and tell you this is something you cannot do or this is something you can do. Always listen to your heart. If your heart says that this is something that you can do, then you will be able to do it. No matter what the people are saying, just go with your heart, just go what you feel is right for you. And there is no nothing wrong in reaching out for help also. Even when you're doing things wrong, right, it's okay to seek help, because sometimes reaching out for help actually enhances your performance. So just believe in yourself, focus on what you want to do, focus on what you feel is right for you, without thinking whether people are questioning you or doubting you. No. What you feel is your journey is, just focus on that and just keep on going based on your journey. What you feel is right for you, just go for it.
That's a great, once again, a great message from you, because just I want to tell this thing to the people based upon your message, that each and everybody will be having some kind of ideas which other people will actually will not obey, will not understand, will not able to actually know the impact of it. They'll be telling like, how can it work? This is not going to happen. So this is something like which is out of the world. Of course, each and every person, God will give some kind of, put some kind of things into each and every people's mind. Some will be someone will be great psychotherapist like you. Someone will be like a movie star. Someone will be like a NASA scientist. Someone will be going to some other job. It's like each and every individual have to just obey the heart, just follow the mind, what's coming into the mind, and just work the things out. And of course, no one should feel any kind of hesitation in getting a help. Suppose if we feel any kind of hesitation, consider I'm a just elderly people, and why should I go and get any kind of guidance from person who has more kind of experience in a field but is more younger than me? The thing is that if we go hesitate to go and converse with them, then we will not be having any kind of clarity with the to our solutions. So in the same way, if who are watching this interview right now, if you're having any kind of things which you needed to be discussed with a great friend like Mandeep Kaur ma'am over here, of course, she is a great genuine psychotherapist, but we had an interview for more than 30-40 minutes right here, and the conversation was absolutely was not like talking to a great professional, but it was talking to a great professional friend. That's the way how this interview went. So it's very well evident that people who are going to have sessions with her regarding psychotherapy in the future, it's going to be very good, because based upon the conversation we had a lot of things. The first communication step which ma'am does with each and every client, that's the rapport each and every clients should develop. So that's the great thing, ma'am. And also people who are watching this interview, I would like to tell that Mandeep Kaur ma'am is too much grounded. I'll just mention her Instagram profile in the YouTube description over here. She has done a lot of accomplishments. She has done a lot of achievements over here. She has done many webinars, seminars with different people across the country. She has been having a lot of awards. So that's how great here. But she is really grounded to earth, because with her genuine talk, I'm really flabbergasted. I do not want to say this. I'm not exaggerating, but the thing is that this is actually real. So I do tell people that Mandeep Kaur ma'am is something very good. You can just approach her. If you have any kind of things, I do not want to say it as traumas or stress or anything kind. If you find any kind of distress, if you want to feel a little bit upgraded, that's the right thing I wanted to use. If you wanted to feel a little bit upgraded in your mental kind of lifestyle and your physical lifestyle, you can just visit Mandeep Kaur ma'am. She is running Peace Pod. There is a separate website for Peace Pod. I'll just mention that website in the YouTube description over there, so that you can get an appointment with Mandeep Kaur ma'am, and you can just directly have an online session with her, and you can get your clarity totally fulfilled. So people who are watching this interview, please go click on the subscribe button, please go click on the bell icon, so that you can receive notifications whenever I post new videos regarding women entrepreneurs and working women across different cities in India and also across different countries in the world. So today's your host is Krishna, hosting this Women Today YouTube channel, and today's our guest is from Bangalore, a very famous psychotherapist. Her name is Mandeep Kaur ma'am. I genuinely thank you for having me host this interview. So once again, thank you, ma'am. So have a wonderful.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you for inviting me for this interview. That means a lot. It's an honor for me also for having this interview. So thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. Have a good day, ma'am.
Thank you.